Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Morning, everyone.
morning.
Or good afternoon.
Yes, I think it's evening with Somaya, right?
Yeah, it's evening with me here.
So we are here with one eXp. My name is Harjeet Rathore. I am a real estate agent with eXp in the United States, in New York, New York, New York. I was gonna say New York City, but no, I'm in Long Island. So that's what I do. My focus is there, and I'm also part of the One eXp South Asian Network, and we're here to have some synergy with the Climate Action Network.
Great. And my name is Alex. I'm one of the co-founders and co-chairs of the eXp Climate Action Network. We also go by eXp Can. I'm also in Canada, and I am one of the expert care desk concierges as a staff member here at eXp. But in my volunteer time, I'm working on the Climate Action Network.
So, hi everyone. My name is Soumya. So, I work with eXp Reality India. I am the onboarding specialist here, and I'm really excited for our conversation today with CAN. Do you, Keith?
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Keith Everett. I'm an agent, but I'm also a managing broker in the state of Colorado, and got involved with Climate Action Network when Alex and the former co-chair Joan Gregerson started the group, and very excited to be able to get back involved with this mission.
How can eXp Realty's Climate Action Network contribute to like sustainable practices within the real estate industry, and how can agents get involved?
Well, great questions. About 39% of carbon emissions come from the built world. So what our industry is, you know, basically helps contribute to 39% of carbon emissions. So by us in the residential side, creating messages that we can give our agents to get out to their spheres of influence and their past clients, we're able to leverage the numbers of the 87,000 agents worldwide with eXp to get messages on how to insulate your home better, how to use water more appropriately. We're thinking along the lines of, it's the first step for me to put solar panels on my house, or do I really need to get new windows? We can get those kind of messages out to individual homeowners, and in the commercial space as well, and help make a dent in that 39% of carbon emissions that we help create.
Absolutely, that's a great initiative, especially as we grow from 87 to 500,000. It's going to be a big impact for so many agents that are contributing to bringing this carbon emission down through giving that messages through to their homeowners.
And we've created, or Glenn created, such an agent-centric
Mhm.
company that our goal is to help the agents
Yeah.
to have a message that they can go out to, and hopefully it's going to help them generate business because of like-minded people that are worried about the impacts of global warming.
Absolutely.
And that's really our vision with the eXp Climate Action Network. We envision eXp Realty industry leader to provide our agents those resources and really take climate action to really accelerate what we need to do as a collective community globally to help reduce our carbon emissions in the built world.
And that's great that we set ourselves apart as the leader. Like we've just owned it. We're the leader of this. We're doing it. That's absolutely amazing.
And talking about that, you guys are helping to lead in the DEI space with expanding in the South Asian network. Tell us about what your guys' what your group's about and what you guys your mission is.
So our mission is to bring together awareness of the different cultures within the South Asian countries. So there's so many people outside of South Asia from South Asian descent that live in the United States, that live in Canada, that live in Europe, Australia.
Australia. Australia.
There's so many South Asians that live in these countries other than South Asia. But what we find is in each of our continents that there is a different perspective of what South Asia is and who South Asian people are. Like for instance, where I live, I'm in New York. I live in the United States. Whenever we're checking a form off, there's only Asia, and when people think of Asia, they're only thinking of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese. They're not thinking of Indians.
Right.
They're not thinking of Saudis or the Arabic countries that are part of South Asia. They're only thinking of that part of the continent.
Well, what countries are you guys encompassing in your group?
So there is about, I believe it's 49 countries. I'm not going to name all of them, but the main ones is so you got India, you have Pakistan, you have Sri Lanka, you have Saudi Arabia, you have some little parts of Russia, and I mean it's a wide, vast. What else? Bengal. Um, Samaya, do you know?
Yes. With Singapore, we have Japan, we have all these countries that, I mean, they are a great, beautiful countries, but they are not really a part of, I mean, they have not really significantly made a mark out there, as Harjeet said.
South Asian.
So,
Yeah. So we want to bring awareness to that. And our mission is to bring awareness with that. And how does that benefit agents and their clients? Is because if you're going to go like somebody from Punjab, it has a totally different culture than somebody from Chennai, which is a uh, South Indian state. And then someone from Delhi has a totally different culture than somebody from Saudi Arabia or Bengal or Sri Lanka. So if you understand that there's different cultures, what you could do is at least try, rather than memorize all of these cultures, learn about the culture through your client, ask them questions and listen to them. And that, I believe, if you can master that skill, your business will grow exponentially just
I,
with that skill and empathy.
I absolutely love that. Sounds like a very diverse group, even amongst yourselves, and bringing that presence to the table at EXP. I imagine there's tremendous value for anyone that wants to follow your group. That's great.
I, I I totally agree with that. I believe it's, and how agents could contribute to that is bring that awareness, because like we don't know every single culture, and there's a lot of languages in India in itself. So
uh, can I just jump in? So,
of course.
India is of 28 states, and we have a diverse culture, diverse groups. So, it's just one single, let's just say that this is one single date. And everybody, every region has their own way of celebrating that particular day. So,
Mhm.
India in itself is so diverse that you really have to go and speak with people. Like you said, Delhi is different from Mumbai, West Bengal is different from Chennai. So this is one country exactly that we are talking about. And over here, we are willing to address 49 countries as a group together. So that is a lot of things we have to learn from our clients. We really need to understand about their culture. We really need to respect the heritage and the culture that they are bringing onto the table.
Absolutely.
The diverse, that many countries, and they cover so many different climatic regions. Or the impacts of global warming are going to impact different areas of your network differently. Either
Mhm.
extreme heat or sea levels rising, it's going to be huge in that part of the world.
So it is, if I just start with an example of the country that I'm currently in. So I'm here in India, and though the country is beautiful, a lot of diversity, and with it comes its own set of challenges as well. So there is a place wherein there's a flood is happening, and on the contrary, there is a place wherein everything is beautiful, people are enjoying the weather. Then there comes a city, a state wherein there is a high risk level. There's a landslides that are happening, a lot of dams, a lot of buildings are just going down the drain. People are losing their homes, people are losing their loved ones. So, I mean, this is how diversified India is when it comes to the climate as well. We have a lot of rising CDC emissions. Air pollution is has gone really. I mean, it's really up, has touched the up levels. So this is how India is when it comes to climatic. And I think the very first point that you said, Keith, that we need to install solar panels or we need to conserve water and start very easily. So I think charity begins at home is a concept. Like when we exit a room, we need to make sure that the taps are closed, that the lights is switched off. So it's very simple thing. Like let's assume that 87,000 of us, if we start doing and making this practice, I'm sure we are going to make a big change in the society.
Well, it's been really interesting, and Alex and I talk about this often. That you know, the Western world's created the problem with so much of the carbon emissions coming from us, and your region is catching up with the building out your infrastructure. And one of the challenges that that the leaders will be discussing is that the impact that cheap fuel has, which produces more carbon, but you guys have the right in your region to get to the infrastructure levels of the West because we kind of cheated it, and we made the problem. So, I mean, alternative energy. What are you guys seeing in South Asia as far as alternative renewable energies?
Since you said that, Keith, that we need to really start with the solar energy thing, so charity begins at home. It is really important for us to, whenever we move out of the house or we move out of the room, we make sure that the taps are closed, there is no water that is dripping, and our electricity is also off. So this is the education that we want to, educate our new generation, and that is exactly what our parents have also educated to us. It is there in our mind, it is there in our subconscious, but it is sometimes we just forget to do it in the trend of moving to somewhere else. Second, India also is growing. If I lead by my example, we at our home also have solar panels. We have small, small lamps in our house which are charged by solar energy because we don't want to be a part of the race that is already there. Also, India is moving ahead when it comes to the vehicles. We have more plug-in, plug-out vehicles. We have electrical vehicles that are coming in, so that there is a lot and lot of fuels, less usage of fuels that is happening now. Also, the government of India has probably put in a ban on a certain cars that should not be on the road because of the increasing level of pollution they create in the environment. So this, as a country, as a government, we've taken a lot of, initiatives because we all understand we are the part of the nature, we are the part of the environment. We cannot live and sustain unless and until we disturb something else.
Speaking of the government, that's great. I'm wondering, and maybe you can only speak to India, but are you seeing a lot of grants, incentives? The government is trying to encourage homeowners to incorporate sustainability in their homes.
So I wouldn't say to homeowners as such, but there are a lot of grants and fundings that is happening to the company, the organizations who are taking care of the sustainability as a whole.
Mm,
Oh,
okay, that's interesting. I love that you mentioned all of this as well, Samaya. That you're doing this, and it's a ripple effect. Now, there's 1.3 billion people in India. Can you imagine just even a quarter of people doing that? How much of a difference it will make in that impact, that climate impact, using solar energy and sustainable energy, green energy?
It's a great point, RG, that you brought up that what the impact of only 100 agents would be, and we joke around, but the impact of 87,000 agents, if they're talking to 250 people,
Hmm.
the message sinks in with 50 people. We extrapolated that number out. We're impacting 1.2 billion people to make positive changes. So I mean, that's the power of the company and the real estate industry, because we as real estate agents have so many people that we are partnering with to be their representative in a transaction. So, and we're also educators for them in the real estate world. So giving them the information that the built world is one of the big contributors and how they can help. It's yeah. It's just, I get all excited about it. Yeah, 1.2 billion people that we can talk to because of the agents we have at this point, not let alone the 500,000 we're going to get to.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love talking about that ripple effect. I'm a huge fan of Gandhi, and be the change that you wish to see in the world, and that having that ripple effect come out, because most of us are, we reach out to our personal networks to see what's going on and to
Mhm.
follow suit with what our neighbors are doing, what our influential networks are doing. And so getting that word out there, being the change, being the leader, can really spread that message.
And some, and you
Oh,
said something that the government and the people that are at the top are the ones that are impacting a lot of the change. I love hearing that, because BP invented the carbon footprint idea and flipped it around and pointed back to the consumers of the energy they produce, not the producers themselves. And to hear
Mm.
that, I mean, at a local level, if we can get our local governments, the 87,000 local governments, to start buying into this and let it trickle upwards, we can lead vertically instead of having them,
That is such an amazing. That's such a great perspective, and I never even realized that it could be like that too. It's never occurred. Like that thought never came into my head until you just mentioned it, Keith.
it's,
That
yeah.
it's, the
it
narrative
is
is
powerful.
flipping.
It is very powerful.
Yeah. So, what do you think would be a good collaboration between the Climate Action Network and your group? I mean, what's next for us? What can we
Excellent
be
question.
looking
Yeah.
That's an amazing question. Well, it's like you said, when know, like, trust. Our clients and our customers already know us, like us, they trust us.
for?
When we introduce other people and connections to something to an idea that their thought is okay, that they're like-minded in that way, I think like the connection in itself and talking about this, bringing out graphs, showing the differences. I can mention from an outside perspective going into South Asia. Going into stuff like whenever I was a kid and I would go to India, starting from I guess first time I ever went when I was 3 years old. Um, Whenever we would go, there was water in the dams, not the dams, the rivers. And every time we went, there was less and less and less and less until there's no more water at all. And the last time I went was 2013, 2012, and there was no water left. And that actually hurt looking at it because like growing up, you'd always see this beautiful river, and now you're back as an adult and that river's gone. It's like what happened? So when we hear stories from our clients and we bring back that memory and that experience of what somebody's seen and what's happening now in the present, I think that type of collaboration and communicating about how to do these little changes, if there's little solar lamps, I don't have that personally in my house. I'm gonna actually look into it because little differences like that can make a big difference.
Harjeet, thank you so much for sharing that story. That brings me back to my training. I was actually trained by former Vice President Al Gore. He has what's called the Climate Reality Project Leadership Corps. So I'm trained as a climate reality leader, and what they train us in there is these stories that we have are the most powerful thing that we have to spread that message of what's going on, because what's happening with the climate is experiential, and being that if you don't necessarily see what's happening, then you might be disconnected from it. And so when you start really experiencing it, then you're really going to wake up to, oh, we need to do something about this. But therein lies the problem is that, the climate change is a very long term problem. Uh, and so we need to act now and within our lifetimes, even though we're not directly experiencing it, we might be indirectly experiencing it. For example, in Canada, we import a lot of our goods, especially in the winter. And so, in this globalized economy, if other countries are being negatively impacted by climate, we're going to feel it in our wallets because of the food that we import into our country. So, sharing of the story, I love that. Um, for myself, cross collaboration between our groups. Um, you guys represent a lot of different countries. I think if even if we had one person from each country collaborate with us in the Climate Action Network to identify what's going on in their specific country, to you know bring forward what is going on within the government, what grant incentives, so that we can start communicating those messages out to all the other real estate agents in those countries as well, and provide those resources for them. I think that, in my mind, that would be a huge success.
Well, one thing too, Harjeet, that's when you tell a story, you communicate with someone so much better. It's before writing, sat around campfires and told stories, and that's how information was passed down. So it's wired in our DNA that that's the best way to communicate. So having those stories that are impactful to you, I raft and paddleboard, and the Colorado River is like 4 miles that way, and I could walk across it last year because of the drought that we were in. So
Um,
when you are able to tell that story, you're connecting on that human level where
mhm.
it's going to be more impactful for the person you're talking to. And part of the toolkit that we want to put together for the EXP agents that want to participate in the Climate Action Network would be scripts and platforms for them to go out and do their own blogs, do their own podcasts, so they can share their own experiences in whatever region of the world they're in, and give them a little bit of guidance on how they can communicate with their clientele to get the message out.
That's absolutely an amazing way. It's so powerful. I love how both Keith and Alex you mentioned that because it can make such a huge difference. What are your thoughts, Samaya?
No, I really second your thoughts. I think it will also be a great initiative, because only that way. So I am a personal believer that I have to only educate two people. Then those two people will have to educate the other two people. So that is how the ripple effect goes. So if I have enough knowledge to educate at least two people, I know this change has begun. I mean, it has started at some level, and as we practice more over the years, the things will definitely are going to fall into the place that we are really aiming for.
Love it. Yep.
That's great.
Awesome. Yep.
I'm beaming with excitement. It may not look like it, but I am.
There's a glow behind your head right now.
Oh, this way.
That's awesome.
We had a conversation yesterday, day before yesterday, with one of our leadership group, and she was very depressed. One of her best friends is rebuilding the coral around South Florida, and the temperatures in the water down there hit 101.2 and killed everything they had just done. And the anxiety that we get, and Alex has created a toolkit within our group that allows you to find ways to cope with that anxiety that we're going to see as it accelerates in the next 20, 30 years on how and the numbers of young people that are facing climate anxiety and depression are just skyrocketing. So that's another component that we got to have to think about. How can we,
Yeah.
Mhm.
with this, so we can still be the champions and not get dragged down too bad into depression because it's depressing.
Thank you so much for bringing that forward, Keith. And that's the first thing I wanted to set up within our organization was our climate anxiety resources. So we do have a whole bunch of different resources for folks because at the beginning of everyone's climate journey, when you wake up to what's going on and you actually see the big picture and how challenging what we're facing is, you get overwhelmed and you get scared and it's really nice to know that other people are feeling the same way that you are. So connecting with them. And then what I've realized, and I'm like living proof of it, is when you're facing this climate anxiety, the best thing to combat that is action, climate action. So being here with you all today, thank you so much for meeting today and talking about this because this really rejuvenates my soul and gives me hope that we can actually solve this problem.
Yeah, and as far as the guys 16 to 25, that Gen Z group, globally, 45% say that they are suffering from climate change anxiety. Almost half of our kids. That's so sad.
Um,
So yeah, and action, like you said, Alex, that's the best path.
I never really realized that the kids are so involved in it as well. I'm like you're talking about this, and I'm thinking of the conversations I have with my children, and they're adults now, 18 and 19. Oh God. And my son will come and talk about a few things. He watches a lot of Canadian podcasts of like what the government is doing for climate and stuff. And just realizing, wow, the kids are involved in it. And the thing I didn't realize is, does that cause anxiety like that? That's what is new to me. Like listening to what you're saying, is that kind of cause?
Yeah, that's great. I'd suggest having a conversation with your kids about it. And that's how we
Mhm.
can connect within our families about that, and that's a common thread. It impacts all of us, and it's going to impact us in our
Mhm.
lifetime. It already is. It already is impacting us in our lifetime. And so, um, the younger a person is, the more they're going to be impacted by climate change. So the more vested they'll be into that topic. Um,
Mhm.
and I think maybe that's part of the problem is, the people that are in power are typically of older age. And so they don't necessarily resonate with it. They're like, well, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. But if you make that connection with their kids or their nieces and nephews and um, then it really turns on that switch for them. It's like, oh yeah, I care about these people, so
Yeah.
I should care.
It brings that human level connection.
Exactly. We're all emotional beings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out because of the connectivity you're talking about. The connectivity, that we're going to be able to have synergy with you guys. But what eXp has done in creating one eXp and the DEI groups and the interconnectivity between them. And Cody, and Stephanie, thank you for putting this stuff together. The whole idea for, and this just came to me as for Climate Action Network, we have a synergy with every one of these groups,
Yeah.
whether it's the young professionals, or Southeast Asia, South Asia, no matter who the group is, and the whole synergy that's being created by the DEI group, the one groups in one EXP, it's amazing company. This is really exciting.
It really is. And the thing is, what's connecting us through and again, yes, I'm 100% with you, Keith. Thank you, Cody and Stephanie, for putting this together in this synergy series. I think is going to be just powerful within itself because watching the one with the last one that was done with Ben and
Young
one of the
professional.
young professional networks.
That
It just makes us realize how connected all of us are. And being in separate groups doesn't mean we're in separate groups. It's just like, here's one thing that is familiar with this group. But when we put this other group together, look what happens and look how we could change this dynamic over here. So what I feel like this is a skill for agents that we could build on. We could build a skill and it gives the agent the opportunity to serve the client at such a higher level. And that brings EXP, like, we're already differentiated. That makes us at a different marker, like, well, these are people who actually care for their clients.
Mhm.
And that's what would be the differentiating marker for EXP. Like, they're making an impact not just for the client, but for the world, because they have that cultural awareness. They listen. They have this tactical skill that's called this skill that's called tactical empathy. They know. If you haven't ever read Chris Voss's stuff, he's such a huge person on tactical empathy. So go read Full Fee Agent or Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
And you'll see when you listen to a client, when you listen to your clients and your customers, your referral business will go off the cuff. And so I think this is such a powerful thing that we're all doing collectively to impact not just EXP and business, but actually making it an impact to create better lives for other people.
right on.
Love it.
I know, I'm
Very
like,
well said. Very well said. Yeah, that was great.
Love Chris Voss. That was I was not expecting you to go there. That was awesome.
yeah, he's amazing, isn't he?
No, he is. I've seen him speak a few times, and the just the way he. I mean, it's stuff that we're taught. Don't be a passive listener. Be an active listener.
Yeah,
Hear what the people are saying to you. When they answer, you ask them a question about their answer and dig deeper in to find out what their real motivation is. I mean, you guys that aren't agents may have never heard this, but Harjeet and I have heard buyers are liars since the beginning of our real estate careers, and I just don't believe that. I don't buy into it. Our buyers may not know exactly what they want, but we're not asking the right questions or enough of the right questions, or
absolutely.
tactfully asking the questions. So thank you for that, Harjeet. That's great.
Oh, my pleasure. You're saying, and listening to that, Keith, you just reminded me of how can we, how can we listen and when we understand other cultures? So I'm from Punjab. My husband is like, my husband's from Punjab. I was born and raised here in New York. I go to Punjab. He comes to New York. He sees the city and he is filled with anxiety because he's used to farmland. He's used to green grass. He's not used to like the metropolitan areas. And he's like actually having anxiety in the car because he thinks this is where I'm going to live now. And I'm like, no, don't worry. Where we live an hour and a half away from the city. And it's almost an acre of land that my parents have. I have a half an acre of land. So what we did with that land is we cultivated vegetables and fruits on the back part of it. So that's something huge for people of Punjabi descent that I know, that they love farming. So when you ask questions like, "What do you like to do on your spare time?" and if they're saying farming, you want to find them a property that they could actually plant and harvest some fruits and vegetables.
It's awesome.
I love that. Hold on to that because
Yeah.
I see a lot of that generational disconnect because of the transition towards metropolises, that disconnect with farming and growing your own food. And it's very rewarding when you start growing your own food and feeding
Yeah.
yourself.
And it's one of the top 100 solutions to reversing global warming. Because us
Absolutely.
doing more farming ourselves.
These are little
So
potatoes that
we
came out of my yard.
So we ourselves are involved in a little bit of farming, but not exactly on such a parcel of land. You've just dictated what my husband's retirement plan is. He wants to purchase a big acre of land and he wants to do organic farming. I mean, that is really his motive.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Right on.
That is amazing.
This has been great. It didn't. I mean, we didn't know anything about each other when we started this conversation. This has just been so interesting.
I love the connection, the similarities. I love it. I look forward to conversing with you guys more in the future. This has been truly amazing. Thanks so much to One EXP. I don't know how long we're going for, but before we do, we're to check out. I think it'd be great if we just let everyone know of how to follow our groups, and if there's anything specifically important once they find your group to do. What do you guys think?
Well, for the South Asian group, you can follow us on Workplace. You can also follow One EXP on Instagram and TikTok. So that's where all of the collaboration is happening. You can follow that. And of course, if reach out to us, either Sumaya or myself or Keith or Alex. You can when you go into Workplace, you can type in South Asian group. And if you want your country or your culture to be represented and we haven't represented you, please reach out to us and let us know, okay, we haven't seen you celebrate this or that. And we're there. We'll celebrate it along with you.
Love that. We have a great workplace group called the Climate Action Network, obviously, and Alex has done a lot of back end work to help get us really organized. You can come in, fill out a little um, intake interview, telling us what you like, what you want to work with, and stuff like that. So. Thanks to having somebody organizing the group, Alex, to
Oh,
do that.
thanks. Yeah, so in our immediately when you were to come to our workplace group, we have pin post, and we have all of our links in there. And if you wanted to join the team of EXP Climate Action Network, because in the back end of getting stuff done, putting on events, stuff like that, we have a form that you can fill out, and like Keith said, let us know what your expertise is in, what interests you have in sustainability, all that kind of stuff. And so within the Climate Action Network, we have a number of different teams focusing on events or operations and so forth, so on. So depending on what you're interested in, we can put you into the right position within our team, so that it's all volunteer work, right? So we want to maximize the benefit that one has at our group, to ensure that you're contributing the best that you can, and you're enjoying doing it, right? So
That's amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to talk to all of you, one on one as well.
Yeah, eXp Con. If you're going to eXp Con in Vegas, come check us out. We might even have a certification class by then. We're going to have a breakout session, and I've got to go get somebody at the door. My dogs are going to rip somebody apart.
And Keith, I love that you mentioned that, because this is where collaboration really truly happens, is when we meet each other at these events. Like, so we have, like, we get to meet each other here like this. And again, thank you to One EXP for this. I have to give shout out to Fee for starting this initiative. And without this, we would have not met. We wouldn't have been on this call. And then when we go to eXpCon, we'll see each other and we're going to give each other a great big hug, because we already know who we are.
Yes.
So definitely take the time out to come to eXpCon or any of the live events. Build just happened. I'm sure that was great. I went to the one last year, and come to the one next year. Come to eXpCon. You're going to meet great people, and the collaboration and the business that you get from those is well worth it.
100%. Collaborating, meeting people, and again, just this conversation that we had today, virtually. it's just amplified when you do it at an event like that.
Thanks everyone for joining us today on this synergy session between the South Asian Network and eXp Climate Action Network. We do hope that you come and join one of our groups or cross collaborate between two groups. Join them both, right? We have a ton of resources available for you, and we look forward to connecting with you.
Thanks, everybody.